Thank you, Adam. That was great. Hi, everybody. That should have woken you up. Good morning and welcome. My name is Rebecca Fisher. On behalf of the First Unitarian Church of Wilmington, Delaware, I welcome you to our Sunday morning worship service, whether you're in the sanctuary or whether you're joining us online. I have an update about our COVID protocols. Mask wearing is optional in the sanctuary this morning. So, welcome barefaced or masked up. Either way, I'm happy to see you all here and those of us at home. Come as you are this morning. Please feel free to arrive here as your whole self with all your identities, your ideas, your troubles, your triumphs, your thoughts, your fears, your doubts, your certainties, your emotions, your love. As Unitarian Universalists, we value and encourage the individual search for truth and meaning, while we work in community to build a more compassionate, more just world for all. If you want to learn more about what's happening here at First Unitarian, please do visit our website, which is firstuuwilm.org. That's all one word. firstuuwilm.org. And you can sign up for our e-news at that website, and then you'll receive a weekly email with all the stuff that's going on here. Richard asked me to share some thoughts on freedom to warm you up. It's a big topic. So it took me a while to get my head around it. And I came to the thought that freedom is a very lofty ideal, but that there's nothing at all theoretical about freedom. You know if you're free or if you're not. And freedom, it seems to me, has to be always freedom to do something or freedom from something. I've been privileged in many ways, and I've been free to choose how to live my life, with a few exceptions, honestly. But I feel like I've been free to do pretty much what I decided to do with my life. But I'm still working on being free from a lot of stuff that comes from within. I've been free from outside forces. I've been free from persecution. But I haven't been free from my own judgments, from my own assumptions. Free from grasping. Free from attachments. And I certainly haven't been free from fear. So please take a moment and think about what you would like to be free of. And now let us prepare our hearts and minds for worship.
Our call to worship is "I Have Walked That Long Road" by Nelson Mandela. I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way. But I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. I have taken a moment to rest here, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds me, to look back on the distance I have come. But I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom come responsibilities, and I dare not linger, for my long walk is not ended.
If you have a chalice at home, please join us in lighting it now. Lighting the chalice, offering the light to all beings, we bring awareness to shine upon all life. Please join us in singing as you rise in body or spirit, "My Country, 'Tis of Thee," also known as America. The words will be posted on the screen.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. And where my people died, land of the natives' pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. My country, country, the land of the noble free, thy name I love. I love thy rocks and hills, thy woods and templed hills. My heart with rapture thrills like that above. Let music swell the breeze and ring from all the trees sweet freedom song. Let mortal tongues awake, let all that breathe partake, let rocks their silence break, the sound prolong.
Please join me in affirming our mission. First Unitarian Church of Wilmington is a beloved community that nourishes minds and spirits, fights injustice, and transforms the world through loving action.
Let us now enter into a period of prayer or meditation. Our prayer comes from A Prayer for America by Tamara Labak. God of many names, you who has endowed us with the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, let us remember this day that in this country there is no national religion. There is no superior race. There is no preferable gender or orientation. We gather holding a common value that the glory of this country rests first and foremost in its diversity. Out of many ideas, out of many beliefs, out of many views, out of many voices, out of many passions, out of many experiences, we are one. Help us, O God, to never forget that we need not be alike to live and love alike. We ask for forgiveness this day for our national and individual transgressions. When we have chosen inaction or silence in the face of injustice and abuse of power, and our failure to claim our own. We ask for forgiveness for when we have not known our own neighbor, fed our hungry, or equipped our future generation with knowledge and love. We ask for a blessing on this nation according to our own faith and forms, and pledge our voice in support of moving closer and closer to freedom. These and the prayers of our hearts we pray now in the silence, in the names of those who have come before us and those who are yet to be, in the names of all the helpers of humankind. Amen. Let us enter into a moment of silence. Each week, we pause to attend to the concerns in our own heart for ourselves, those we care about, and our world. We extend our thoughts to include others who might need our love and support. So take a moment now to reflect on those concerns. Now, if you would like, you may speak the names of the concerns aloud in the sanctuary or write them in the chat online. May all the names that were spoken or written, and those unspoken, find peace and healing this day. The reading I've chosen for this day comes from U.S. Ambassador Ken S. George, who 2 years ago wrote something to the country in which he was serving. Every July 4th, Americans around the world reflect with gratitude on the Declaration of Independence of our great nation. July 4, 1776, marked the beginning of an ongoing journey toward life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Over the past 244 years, the United States has emerged from groups of settlers who sought freedom of religion, personal liberty, and refuge from persecution, to a nation that most felt would not survive, reluctantly accepting the role of a global leader, and today the world's oldest democracy and strongest economy. I was born and raised with the freedom to believe, pursue, and attempt anything I could imagine. Midland, Texas, describing itself as the land of the high sky, is my hometown. Growing up and traveling the length and breadth of the United States, I was amazed by its beauty, its opportunity, and its generosity. As a young man, my parents inspired me in many ways. My father led me to embrace the entrepreneurial spirit, and my mother encouraged me to dream as high as the sky. And both of them taught me to love and appreciate the hard-won freedoms and democracy of my country. We, as Americans, have suffered our share of trials. We are not perfect, and none of us are, but we try, continue to try, and learn from our mistakes, and to understand and embrace the differences that make us stronger. We continue to in pursuit of the democratic ideals and values upon which our nation was founded, quote, in order to create a more perfect union, unquote, like our Declaration of Independent States. We continue in pursuit of the American dream, something I believe in very strongly. Throughout my lifetime pursuits in the public or private sector, I have learned that most Americans, regardless of their circumstances, cherish and pursue the same dreams of freedom, liberty, and the opportunity of providing for their families in a manner they choose. The celebration of our independence also provides a moment to reflect and to be thankful. The unparalleled generosity and compassion of Americans has helped millions of people out of poverty around the world and provided life-saving health care and medicines to people in need. The American people have also worked alongside countless nations over the past 244 years to help protect life, liberty, and freedom. The excellent American higher education system has trained some of the brightest and most innovative minds in the world and been at the genesis of some of the most successful, impactful, and economically sustainable businesses around the globe. Our oldest document, our Constitution, has been amended 27 times in the years since it was created. These new laws updated our democracy to better reflect the changes our society needed. There will always be opportunities to make it better, more inclusive, broader, with more freedoms for our citizens. We openly debate these issues, call out injustice, and seek to understand our differences and we do so in the public arena for all the world to see. The most precious thing about the United States is that Americans believe in what our country stands for. We are willing to engage in the democratic process. It is difficult, messy, fortifying, and enlightening, and it protects our democratic ideals. I believe this is what our founding fathers spoke of in our Declaration of Independence when they wrote, quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Well, I want to thank Reverend Larry Pierce for offering me this opportunity to be in the pulpit this morning. I last preached here a year ago in August. Now, since this is the day before the celebration of the Declaration of Independence, I have chosen a patriotic topic. In that founding document are these famous words: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." So the question I have today is, where are we in our ability to live into these words? A man once got my tongue in the wrong places. A man asked a wise guru, I'll get it right in a minute, "What is the secret to eternal happiness?" The wise guru answered, "To not argue with fools." The man says, "I disagree." The wise guru replied, "Yes, you're right." Now, when Thomas Jefferson and his fellow men, and they were all men, assembled in Philadelphia in the summer of 1776, these words that I just read applied only to white men with property. Slavery was legal throughout the colonies. Women could not vote, and in many places not even own property themselves. The only people who had unalienable rights were the rich landowners, many of whom owned black people and thought nothing of it. Now, on June 15th of 1776, more than 2 weeks before that fateful vote in Philadelphia, Delaware declared its own independence. The lower 3 counties of Pennsylvania voted to break away from the Penn family and form their own entity. Refusing any longer to be a southern extension, afterthought of Pennsylvania, they voted to form the Delaware state. So Delaware became the 13th colony to declare its independence from King George III. Excuse me. We celebrate this 246th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence tomorrow. But where are we now? What issues confront us that keep us from having a more perfect union? What does our country need to provide more life, more liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? I am sure that if I were to take a poll of those of us here in the room and those who are online, the list would be topped by the recent actions of the United States Supreme Court. A week ago on Friday, the Supreme Court overturned almost 50 years of women's rights and declared that Roe v. Wade was invalid. If Justice Thomas had his way with the other justices, he would go along to outlaw gay marriage, marriage between people of different races, and take us back another 70 years to remove all the gains this country has made in civil rights and personal rights. He would restrict our freedoms, not enlarge them. This is the state of our union today as we celebrate this anniversary of freedom. Now, we're lucky that most of us live in Delaware, and the freedom of women's reproductive rights are not in jeopardy. All women have an affirmative right to abortion enshrined in state law. Other states are quickly enacting laws that would prohibit women from getting abortions, and some will go so far as to penalize others who help the women obtain their reproductive freedom. We will see agencies supporting women to travel across state lines and underground movements to continue offering services to women. Drug dealers will get into the market for providing mifepristone and misoprostol, the two drugs that are used for chemical abortions, possibly scamming desperate women with fake pills. If these truths in the Declaration are to be self-evident, that we are created equal and have unalienable rights, then our country and some of its elected and appointed leaders are sorely missing what our founding fathers and mothers intended for our freedom. Why is it that according to our highest court in recent rulings, I can carry a weapon in public that I can use to kill someone, but a woman cannot have the freedom to choose how her body is treated? Another case supported a coach praying on the 50-yard line at a school function. The court majority saw no problem allowing a Christian to pray in public on school property. What would have been the result had the coach been a Muslim? If the coach brought out a rug and faced Mecca, is that allowed? What about the students who didn't want to pray but felt compelled to fit in with the others? To quote the Bible, "And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." This is accredited to Jesus. Now, I recently rode a bus to Washington, D.C. to be part of the Poor People's Campaign, which is working to lift up the poor and to help them obtain their rights to more freedom and the pursuit of happiness. The Souls of Poor Folk Auditing America report reveals how the evils of systemic racism, poverty, ecological devastation, and the war economy and militarism are persistent, pervasive, and perpetuated by a distorted moral narrative that must be challenged. The Unitarian Universalist Association was one of the sponsors for this rally that drew thousands of people from all over the country. There is much more to do to offer the least of these a living wage, a healthy and safe place to live that they can afford, and adequate health care that meets their needs. Our union is not yet perfect as long as these social ills persist. So are we really happy? Have we pursued the happiness that we all need and desire? Did you know that you can take the Oxford Happiness Questionnaire? In doing my research for this sermon, I ran across it online. So I took it and got the results emailed to me. There are 29 questions that you rate on a scale of strongly disagree to strongly agree about how happy you feel. An example is one question says, I don't feel particularly pleased with the way I am, so rate it from 1 to 6. Or I always have a cheerful effect on others. Now, the lowest score in this survey, this questionnaire, is 1, and the highest would be 6. My score came out to be 4.9. Now, according to appreciativeliving.com, the average person scores slightly over 4. Since I was closer to 5, I think that I might be happier than the average person. But am I? I think that you will agree that happiness is a very subjective business. Over the years, I've had my share of disappointments in love, work, and life in general. My first wife left me suddenly while I was out of town on a business trip when I was in my late 20s. I was almost bankrupted by our shared debt. I have faced the prospects of lung cancer that luckily turned out to be something that resolved on its own. But it took major chest surgery to discover the absence of cancer. My parents died before I was 30. I could name many other setbacks in my life, but I think you get the idea that life has not always been happy for me. Yet, I rebounded from each setback, and I learned from each incident. I had to determine what my own happiness is. Happiness, I believe, is something that you create, not handed to you. The pursuit is the journey of a lifetime for each of us. And now I have hopefully begun the long process of aging gracefully until I shuffle off this mortal coil into the abyss. I have learned that I only have control over me and how I feel. And I sometimes joke, that's only half the time. I can't make another person like me or love me. I can only be me to act and speak from a genuine core in relation to others and to the world. And through that core, perhaps help another find more life, more liberty, and more happiness in their own life. Now, collectively, we can act for the common good. So what can we do to bring more life, liberty, and happiness into our country and the world? We can mobilize with others to help elect men and women who share our values of greater freedom for all. We can volunteer in local elections to support people in our area to get elected. The UUA has begun another postcard campaign. The UU Delaware Action Network, UDAN, has partnered again with Reclaim Our Vote and to get out the vote in southern states where voter suppression has disenfranchised many people, especially black and brown people, from voting. Help people in other states reclaim their right to vote for their government by writing postcards and mailing them. They deserve the freedom to choose who governs them, just like us. Volunteer or contribute to an organization that is trying to solve community problems. I'm a member of the Interdenominational Ministers Action Council, IMAC, that is working in Wilmington and the state to improve the lives of black and brown people in Delaware and to reduce oppression. The YWCA has ongoing study groups addressing a deeper understanding of racism and oppression and what we can do about it. I know several of us have participated in the past. We need to expand our numbers to have an even greater impact. With poverty still affecting too many people, we can contribute to the Delaware Food Bank or help our local First U members in creating and serving food at a manual dining room. We can campaign for a living wage for workers to increase the minimum wage. We can advocate for affordable housing for low-income people in Wilmington. We all should be free to seek a better place to live and to have food and security in our lives. Now, in case that seems too much for any one person to do, let's bring it down to a more personal level. We can also bring more happiness into our environment by doing simple things with and for one another. Now, I have a colleague who carries a bunch of $5 bills with them. Whenever a person approaches him on the street, or he sees them standing on a corner with a homemade sign asking for help, he gives them a $5 bill without asking what they will do with it. He also carries bottles of water in his car to give out as well. I'm trying to imitate him and his actions in my own interactions with those I meet. I have the resources to do this and can spread them to others. So I now carry several bottles of water in my car for that purpose, and I have some $5 bills. Now, in 1941, President Roosevelt articulated what he called the 4 freedoms in a speech to Congress. He talked about freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, freedom from fear. Europe was already at war, and he was setting out how America should respond. Now, the first 2 freedoms are found in our Bill of Rights. But the second 2 were an expansion of freedom that ultimately became part of the preamble to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of the United Nations. We still have too many people who do not have freedom from want, and too many parts of our country still live in fear of violence, as seen by the recent shootings in Uvalde and in New York State. There is still much to do if we wish to secure these freedoms for all. I started the service with the quote from Nelson Mandela. I have walked that long road to freedom, I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way. But I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. I have taken a moment here to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds us, to look back on the distance that I have come. But I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom come responsibilities, and I dare not linger, for my long walk is not ended. So tomorrow, we can rest for a moment to celebrate the life, liberty, and happiness that we individually have with our family and friends. Then we must turn toward those responsibilities that come with our freedom to engage again in making our union and the world a better place for all. We dare not linger on our long walk toward freedom is not ended. It will not end until all Americans can sing proudly, "Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave." Amen.
Thank you, Richard. And thank you, Kathy, for the beautiful, sensitive music you're giving us this morning. Many of you might know that I have two spiritual communities. One is a Zen Buddhist practice into which I have been ordained as a lay practitioner, and the other is this Unitarian Universalist church. And then in addition, or maybe underlying all of that, is that I was raised in the Jewish faith. So I sometimes half-jokingly call myself a Jew-boo, because I still participate in some Jewish observances like a Seder or a lighting Hanukkah candles or observing a Sabbath. So one very special aspect of our Unitarian Universalist faith is that I can be a full citizen in more than one spiritual community. And there's no contradiction there. No one in our church considers me less of a UU because I have taken vows in a different faith. And you'll find Christian UUs, and Jewish UUs, and atheistic UUs, and pagan UUs, and straight-up no-chaser UUs, and many, many more, because it's all just fine. No one set of these beliefs is considered less UU than another, as long as we continue to honor each other's spiritual paths. We can all be UUs together and validate one another's spiritual truths, and maybe even learn something from someone's different faith. Our third principle reads, in case you need a reminder, I know a lot of you have them memorized, but our third principle is acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregation. And our fourth principle reads, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And that is another kind of freedom I can get behind, and one that this church has really helped me embrace. So please give generously to help support the work of this church. You know that there are 4 fabulous ways to give. They are displayed on your screen, but I'll give you a little rundown. For those of you here in the sanctuary, you can give your cash or checks in the box at the back of the sanctuary today. You can always mail a check in to the church. You can go online to our website and look for the donate button. Or you can use the Vanco mobile faith engagement app on your smartphone to make a contribution. It's easy to use, and it makes, if you plan to give every week or every month, or it makes it a lot easier for you once you've set it up. Thank you very much for your generosity. Please join me in dedicating our offering. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings.
When I wake up in America, I see my neighbors there with every type of clothes and shoes, hats and skin and hair, every fine belief and custom. Scores of songs from who knows where. When I wake up in America, our stories fill the air. Wake up, despierta. Wake up, despierta. Wake up in America. The light in the harbor shines for us all. When I wake up, I see the kids playing happily swaying. It's good to be staying in a place like this, with a face like this. When I wake up in America, I put away my fear, and I love my neighbor as myself. And I say, I'm glad that you're here. We have found ourselves together in a land we dream could be. When we wake up in America, everybody will be free. Wake up, despierta. Wake up, despierta. Wake up, please, America. The light in the harbor shines for us all. When I wake up, when you wake up, when we wake up in America.
Our closing words come from Martha Kirby Capo. So if you have a chalice at home, please join with me as we extinguish it as I read these words. Our time together is finished, but our work is not done. May our spirits be renewed and our resolve strengthened as we meet the challenges of the week to come. This chalice flame is extinguished until we ignite it again with the spark of our communion. Now, this summer, we are singing a closing hymn instead of having a postlude. This next hymn is found in our Hymns for the Celebration of Life, which was originally published in 1964 and was in use before the current gray hymnal that we have now that came out in 1994. So I've slightly altered the original to make it more gender inclusive. And you're going to play through it once so they'll get the melody in their head. You'll recognize the tune. So please rise in body or spirit. Patriot one who lights the torch of war from hill to hill, or one who kindles on the heights the beacon of a world's goodwill. Who is the patriot one is one who knows no boundary, race, or creed, whose nation is humanity, whose compatriots all souls that need. The soil that bred the pioneers, they love and guard, yet love the more that larger land without frontiers, those wider